The Ghost of Rikers. Before we dive into this one, smash that like button, subscribe, and stay tuned, because what you're about to hear will make you question everything you thought you knew about justice in America. New York City, 2014. A cold rain pounded against the East River as a police siren wailed through the night. The city didn't sleep, it never did, but tonight felt different. There was tension in the air, the kind that seeps into your bones before you even know why. On a cracked sidewalk in Harlem, officers had cornered a suspect, Marcus Reed, a 29-year-old man known on the streets as Ghost. He wasn't a killer. Not yet. But he was a name whispered in the underground, a quiet mastermind behind a string of armored truck heists that had baffled the NYPD for months. Marcus wasn't violent. He was strategic, invisible. He left no fingerprints, no witnesses. Just a trail of missing cash and humiliated security firms. But every ghost leaves a shadow, and Marcus's luck was about to run out. When the police raided an abandoned auto shop in Queens, they found more than stolen money. They found evidence that tied Marcus to something far worse, a missing guard who had vanished during one of the robberies. The city's tabloids exploded with headlines. The Ghost of Harlem, from heists to homicide. Marcus swore he was innocent of the murder, but the evidence, planted or not, was airtight. A bloodied jacket with his initials. A witness claiming to have seen him flee the scene. By the time the cuffs clicked, Marcus knew the truth didn't matter. He was going down. When the judge read the sentence, 15 years at Rikers Island, the courtroom went silent. Even the reporters shifted uneasily. Rikers wasn't just a prison. It was a world of its own. A concrete monster that chewed up souls and spat out ghosts. The transfer van crossed a bridge over the East River, the skyline fading behind steel bars. Marcus stared through the rain-streaked window at the distant lights of Manhattan. The city he once owned was now just a reflection, unreachable, untouchable. Inside Rikers, the smell hit him first, a mix of bleach, sweat, and stale air. The sound came next. The clang of doors, the shouts, the laughter that wasn't really laughter. The guards watched him with indifference, eyes dull from years of seeing hope die. They stripped him, searched him, and handed him a number. #A5732. The first days were a blur of noise and silence. Fights broke out in the yard for reasons no one remembered. Inmates spoke in codes. Alliances formed and shattered overnight. But there was one rule that every man learned fast: never show weakness. Marcus kept to himself, observing everything. That's how he'd survived on the outside, and it would have to work here too. But Rikers had its own hierarchy, its own kings. And at the top sat Darryl King D. Monroe, a former gang enforcer who ran half the North Block. King D had been at Rikers for over a decade, sentenced for murder, but still running business from behind bars. He noticed Marcus on the second week. Ghost, right? King D grinned from his cell, gold tooth glinting under the dim light. Heard you move quiet. I like quiet men. It wasn't a compliment. It was an invitation or a threat. Maybe both. King D ran contraband, phones, drugs, cigarettes. He had guards in his pocket, inmates in his debt. Marcus knew better than to get involved, but Rikers had a way of forcing choices. Refusing King D's offer meant trouble. Accepting meant survival, but at a cost. By month 2, Marcus had found his place as a runner. He managed messages, handled trades, and made sure nothing left a trail. His old skills, planning, precision, were back in play. But as he moved deeper into the system, he began to see things that didn't make sense. Transfers that never happened. Inmates who disappeared after solitary. And guards who looked the other way, or worse, participated. One night, during lockdown, Marcus heard it, the sound of someone being dragged down the corridor, muffled cries echoing until they vanished behind a heavy metal door. When he asked another inmate, they just shook their head. You didn't hear nothing. Ghost. You ask too much, you end up like them. That night, Marcus couldn't sleep. He kept seeing that door in his mind. The one with no number, just a red slash painted across it. Weeks later, King D handed him a folded note during breakfast. Deliver this to Block E, Room 12. No questions. Marcus hesitated. What's in it? King D's smile vanished. You don't want to know. He made the delivery. But curiosity and paranoia got the best of him. That night, when he was alone, he carefully peeled open the corner of the envelope. Inside wasn't money or orders. It was a list of names, inmates, officers, dates, and, at the bottom, next transfer, the basement. Marcus froze. There was no basement on the Rikers map. He had memorized every detail, every hallway. But this was something else, something hidden. He didn't tell anyone. But the next morning, Block E was on lockdown. Word spread fast. An inmate had died overnight. No details. No witnesses. Just a body and a silence that felt too familiar. When Marcus asked around, a guard gave him a look, part warning, part fear. Stop asking about the basement, ghost. Some doors don't open back up. For the first time, Marcus realized Rikers wasn't just a prison. It was a secret, one built on lies, power, and something much darker than crime. And that envelope? It wasn't a mistake. It was a message. Someone inside wanted him to find it. And whoever it was, they weren't done yet. The blood and the blue light. The next morning, the fog that hung over Rikers Island felt thicker than usual, like even the air didn't want to move. Marcus sat on the edge of his bunk, staring at the folded note tucked inside a crack in the wall. The list of names haunted him. Every night, he replayed that phrase over and over in his mind. Next transfer, the basement. He hadn't slept much since. The sound of clanging doors echoed through his thoughts like a heartbeat. Rikers was already a hellhole, but this was something else. There were levels to this place that no one talked about, and the basement, whatever it was, didn't exist on paper. At breakfast, Marcus kept quiet. King D sat across from him, his usual smirk replaced by something colder. You did what I told you, he asked, his voice low. Yeah, Marcus said carefully. Block E, room 12. Just like you said. King D nodded. Good. Keep it that way. Don't ask questions about things that don't concern you. But Marcus knew that warning came too late. Something about the tone, too firm, too forced, made his stomach turn. King D wasn't afraid of anything, except maybe this. Later that day, during yard time, Marcus saw a guard, Officer Haynes, watching him. Not the usual bored kind of stare most guards had, but the kind that measured your next move. When their eyes met, Haynes turned away and whispered into his radio. That night, Marcus's cell door slid open. Read, a voice said, You got a visitor. He frowned. At this hour? The guard didn't answer. He just motioned toward the hallway. They led Marcus through a series of empty corridors, past areas he'd never seen before. The further they went, the colder it got. The fluorescent lights flickered, throwing everything into pale blue shadows. Finally, they stopped at a metal door marked Maintenance Level C. The guard unlocked it and pushed him inside. The room was dimly lit, filled with old equipment and a faint hum of electricity. Sitting at a desk in the corner was Detective Alvarez, a man Marcus hadn't seen since his trial. Still breathing, huh? Alvarez said, his tone somewhere between curiosity and disappointment. What's this? Marcus asked, glancing at the guard behind him. Relax, Alvarez said, lighting a cigarette. I'm not here for another confession. I'm here because something's going on in this place, and you might be the only one who can help me figure out what. Marcus blinked. You mean inside Rikers? Alvarez exhaled slowly. You think I like coming here? 2 inmates have vanished in the last month. No record of transfers. No paperwork. Nothing. Just gone. He paused. And your name came up. Marcus froze. My name. Yeah. One of the missing guys, Andre Miller. He was seen talking to you. Said you had something he needed to see. Marcus felt a chill crawl up his spine. I didn't give him anything. I don't even know what. Alvarez leaned forward. Don't play dumb. You found something, didn't you? Marcus stayed silent. The detective smiled faintly. You're smarter than most of these guys. But smart men get buried faster when they start looking for answers in here. Before Marcus could reply, the guard stepped in. Time's up. Alvarez crushed his cigarette. If you find out anything, Write it down and get it to me. There's something rotten in this place. And it ain't just the inmates. They walked him back to his cell, the metallic clang echoing behind him. Marcus sat on his bunk, heart pounding. If even the cops were scared of what was happening, how deep did this go? Over the next week, he watched carefully. He noticed things. The same guards escorting different inmates to the east corridor late at night, a hum beneath the floor that never seemed to stop, and King D suddenly avoiding eye contact. One evening, a young inmate named Tyrone, who worked in laundry, slipped Marcus a folded piece of paper during mealtime. From someone who said you'd understand. Marcus unfolded it later under the dim light of his cell. It was a crude sketch of the prison layout, with a red X drawn below the east wing. And next to it just one word, basement. He didn't sleep that night. The curiosity that once got him rich was now going to get him killed. But he needed to know. At 3 a.m., during the shift change, Marcus made his move. He slipped through a maintenance hatch near the showers, the same one Tyrone's map had shown. The tunnels below were colder, darker. The air smelled of rust and disinfectant. As he moved deeper, he saw things that didn't belong there. Bloodstains on the wall, handcuffs bolted to pipes, and a single flickering light that pulsed like a heartbeat. Then he heard it, faint voices, coming from a room at the end of the corridor. He crept closer and peeked through a small crack in the door. Inside, 2 guards were talking. One of them, Haynes, was pacing nervously. "We can't keep doing this," he muttered. "They're starting to ask questions." The other guard shook his head. "Orders are orders. You know what happens if we stop?" Marcus's pulse quickened. He leaned closer. The room beyond was filled with stacks of files, photographs, and, in the far corner, what looked like a makeshift medical setup. A gurney, 4 bags, chains. He didn't see the hand grab him from behind. A flashlight beam hit his eyes, blinding him. "What the hell are you doing down here?" a guard barked. Before Marcus could answer, another voice cut in. Calm. Smooth. "Let him go." Marcus blinked, his vision clearing. It was King D. But his expression was different now, cold, calculating, and dangerous. "I told you not to ask questions," King D said quietly. "Now you're part of the secret." Marcus's heart pounded in his chest. "What is this place?" King D's eyes narrowed. "This, Ghost, is where Rikers decides who never comes back." The blue light above them flickered, once, twice, before plunging the corridor into darkness. And in that moment, Marcus realized something terrifying. Rikers Island didn't just hold criminals. It buried them. The exit that never opens. The lights flickered back on, humming like dying insects. Marcus stood frozen as the reality of King D's words hit him. This is where Rikers decides who never comes back. The phrase echoed in his mind, sharper than the cold metal cuffs now clamped around his wrists. King D turned to the guards, his calm voice slicing through the silence. "Uncuff him." Haynes hesitated. "Sir," the warden said. "I said," King D interrupted, "uncuff him." There was power in his tone, the kind that made even the guards obey. Marcus realized then that King D wasn't just another inmate. He was connected, deeper than anyone else in this hellhole. When the cuffs fell away, Marcus rubbed his wrists, eyes darting between the men. "What is this place? What are you doing down here?" King D's expression didn't change. "You ever wonder how this island stays quiet? How so many people disappear, and nobody on the outside makes noise about it?" Marcus stayed silent. "Because silence," King D said softly, "is bought in blood." He motioned toward the gurney in the corner, the one with the leather straps. "These are the ghosts of Rikers. People who saw too much. People the city doesn't want to explain." Marcus's chest tightened. "And you're part of it." King D's smirk returned, but his eyes were dead cold. "I'm the middleman. The one who keeps the order, makes sure the secrets stay buried. But lately," he said, stepping closer, "somebody's been poking holes in my walls. Somebody like you." Marcus tried to hold his gaze. "I didn't ask for this. I was just trying to survive." King D chuckled, low and grim. "Everyone says that right before they die trying." The sound of boots echoed down the corridor. More guards. Marcus's mind raced. There was no way out. The air was thick with metal, fear, and something else, inevitability. But then, over the intercom, a sharp voice barked, "Emergency lockdown. All personnel, return to base. Repeat full lockdown." The guards exchanged nervous glances. King D cursed under his breath. "Move him. Now." As they reached for Marcus, he made his move. He slammed his shoulder into Haynes, sending the flashlight clattering. The beam spun wildly, slicing through the dark, and for a split second, Marcus saw it. An exit door behind the stacks of old files. He ran. Shots echoed. The hallway lit up with bursts of blue light. He dove behind crate, heart pounding, so loud it drowned everything else. The air smelled of gunpowder and old dust. He crawled toward the exit door, pushing through rusted metal until it gave way. The tunnel beyond was long and narrow, lined with pipes that dripped water onto the floor. He could hear shouting behind him, but he didn't look back. He just ran. At the end of the tunnel, a faint light flickered, red and pulsing. He pushed forward, lungs burning. The tunnel opened into a room filled with old surveillance monitors, flickering black and white footage of the prison above. Every block, every corridor, every inmate. And, on one of the screens, him. Marcus froze. The camera feed showed him standing in that exact room, seconds behind reality. A low hum filled the air, and then he heard a voice over the speakers. "You can't run from a place that doesn't exist, Reed." It was Alvarez, the detective. Marcus spun around. Alvarez was standing in the doorway, his badge glinting in the dim red light. "Detective." Marcus gasped. You're part of this?" Alvarez sighed, stepping closer. "Part of it? Kid, I built it. Rikers isn't just a prison, it's a filter. We take the ones the system can't fix and make sure they disappear quietly." Marcus shook his head. "You use inmates as experiments? You kill them." Alvarez smiled faintly. "Call it population control. The city stays clean. The headlines stay quiet. Everybody wins." He pulled a small pistol from his coat. "But you, Reed, you had to dig deeper. You had to find the basement." The click of the gun echoed through the chamber. Marcus's mind raced. His eyes darted to the wall of monitors, the wires, the controls, the emergency breaker box. Then, in one motion, he ripped the main lever down. The entire room went black. Sparks flew. Alarms screamed. In the chaos, Marcus tackled Alvarez, sending the gun skittering across the floor. They struggled in the dark, fists landing in flashes of light. Then bang. A single gunshot. Silence. When the emergency lights flicked on again, Alvarez was on the ground, bleeding, motionless. Marcus stood over him, shaking, the pistol in his hand. The alarms grew louder. Footsteps thundered above. He didn't have long. He grabbed a stack of the surveillance tapes, shoved them into a bag, and ran toward the far door, the one marked exit in faded red paint. He pushed it open and stumbled into the cold night air. The skyline of New York glimmered in the distance, so close and yet a world away. But as he ran toward the outer gate, he saw them. Headlights cutting through the fog. Dozens of guards. Sirens blaring. Helicopters above. There was no way off the island. He turned back toward the prison. Smoke rose from the facility. The alarms sounded like screams. And in that moment he realized the tapes, the proof, everything he'd risked his life for, would never make it past the water. Still, he smiled faintly, because even if they caught him, even if Rikers buried him next, he had exposed the secret. And secrets, once unearthed, never stay buried for long. When the guards reached him, Marcus didn't fight. He dropped to his knees, eyes still on the skyline. The warden stepped forward, his voice cold. "You think you made a difference?" Marcus looked up, blood on his lip, a defiant grin on his face. "You can lock me up," he said softly, "but you can't lock the truth." The warden frowned. "What truth?" Marcus tilted his head, nodding toward the sky, where a single drone camera hovered, its red light blinking. "The one that's already streaming." The warden's face went pale. And then, before anyone could react, the power on Rikers Island went out completely. The entire island plunged into darkness.